There we go. I am okay. I'm so, folks. I'm so sorry about that. We had technical difficulties. Just basically, my studio locked me out. So it seems like it's just been a circus with this podcast anymore. I apologize for that. If you're listening to us live on YouTube, I apologize. Like I said, got logged out and ended up getting locked out of the studio. So very odd, very weird. If you're listening to us, we'll do a lot of edits to make sure that we do not overlap, or we'll try to cut it out as much as we can where it doesn't seem like there's that much of an overlap. Again, if you're listening to us live on YouTube, I apologize about that. Again, we ended up getting locked out, and like I said, we're back live. Hopefully, we're back up and running. Appreciate everyone's patience. Um, yeah, I apologize. I definitely do not want the podcast to actually feel like a circus, and like I said, it just feels like it's been a circus over the last few weeks. So, anyways, we just like I said, we just got talking about the All Star Race weekend. The second article this week came from the Athletic and Jordan Bianchi and Jeff Gluck. This one caught us by surprise, and like I was saying before, we went to technical difficulties. This article came out on April 1st yesterday, so I was like, everyone I think around the NASCAR community thought it was kind of like an April Fool's joke. So, um, article this week though, Legacy Motor Club is suing Rick Ware Racing over NASCAR charter purchase, which has now gone very stray. Um, it's interesting because I didn't know Rick Ware, or excuse me, I didn't know that Legacy was looking to make it a three-car operation, and I think that's where a lot of people got caught by surprise. But in this article by Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi, it says Legacy Motor Club filed a lawsuit Tuesday against Rick Ware Racing, April 1st, as the two NASCAR Cup Series teams clash over a charter purchase gone wrong. According to the suit, Legacy is seeking a temporary restraining order to complete the transaction of a Rick Ware Racing charter, which is similar to a franchise in other sports. Legacy said the teams met on January 6th to strike a deal and signed it on March 3rd after agreeing on payment terms. Exact figures were not disclosed publicly, but charters have been sold at valuations of up to $40 million, and now Legacy claims Rick Ware Racing has cold feet. Despite having a binding deal in place, Rick Ware Racing wants to back out, the suit said. It has told Legacy that it will not, under any circumstances, close the parties' transaction. Legacy has tried to talk sense into Rick Ware Racing to no avail. Legacy's patience has run out. It now brings this suit to enforce its rights and hold Rick Ware Racing to its deal. On Wednesday, Rick Ware Racing released the following statement. This lawsuit distorts the actual facts and is a misguided attempt to tarnish our reputation. Rick Ware Racing has negotiated in good faith and operated with the highest standards of integrity and professionalism, a Rick Ware spokesman said. We are confident that the truth will prevail and look forward to swiftly resolving this matter through the proper legal channels. According to multiple sources familiar with the lawsuit but not authorized to speak publicly, the dispute centers around the timing of when the charter would be transferred from Rick Ware Racing to Legacy, which is owned by seven-time Cup Series champion Jimmie Johnson. Rick Ware Racing is said to have been under the impression the agreement would go into effect for 2027, but Legacy changed the year to 2026 without communicating to team owner Ware or other Rick Ware representatives that had done so. So, few thoughts on this. One, before we get into those thoughts, article courtesy of the Athletic, Jordan Bianchi, Jeff Gluck. We'll post that on our Facebook page, the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Uh, it is the Athletic, so you may not be able to read it. So we tried to read as much as the article as we could for all of you, because the Athletic, you will have to pay for a subscription. Um, a few thoughts. One, I think it caught me by surprise that Legacy is trying to go to a three-car operation. I know that Jimmy and company are kind of adamant about expansion. Legacy is more, I will say this, I think Legacy, I'm very pro analytics in the sport, but Legacy to me is very ultra analytical, where they kind of shoot themselves in the foot more times than not on the racetrack. I don't know necessarily if this organization's ready to become a three-car operation. I don't. I don't see it too. John Hunter Nemechek has been off to a good start just to start off 2025. Eric Jones has been, to me, kind of a massive disappointment again. And with Eric, I ex- it, I've been saying this for a while. I expect a lot more. The dude won the Southern 500 in 2022. You felt like the trajectory of the team was going up. Now, that 2023 season, they didn't win a race. We're not really competitive, but we blamed it because we thought it was Chevrolet being, making them out to be a lame duck. They also had issues with Noah Gragson at the end of, in the middle of the season. He liked the Instagram post. We don't need to hash that back out again. But in 2024, there was a lot of momentum with Toyota coming in. So you felt like Legacy was on the upswing once again. It's like, okay, well, the lame duck's gone. Legacy's got the drivers that they want. And Nemechek, who completely dominated in the Xfinity Series. And you got Eric Jones, who's going back to Toyota, which David Wilson at Toyota said they're very adamant about and how excited they were about bringing Eric Jones back. But they didn't do anything last year. And like I said, John Hunter Nemechek's off to a good start, but not to an elite start. I'm not sitting there. I'm not looking at championship contenders right now going, John Hunter Nemechek's championship contender. I mean, he's currently sitting. Let me pull up the standings real quick. He's currently John Hunter Nemechek currently in the points is sitting in 17th, so it's good. It's a good start. It's got one top 5, 2 top 10s. But you got Eric Jones, who kind of is the premier guy. Now, granted, he did get disqualified after Martinsville this past week. Eric Jones sitting 29th. I feel like there's organizations that are just jumping to become these, three-car operations. And I get it, right? More sponsorship, more money, more opportunities to probably get the cars in victory lane. But when your equipment is not matching elite level, why would you want to expand? I look at a team like Trackhouse, and I feel like Trackhouse and 23XI to me have done it the best. They came in 2020, well, both of them came in 2021 under one car. In 2022, they expanded to two cars, and they became a better organization with the two-car system. Now, both of them expanded to three cars this year in 2025 at the same time, ironically. Trackhouse, obviously, they brought in SVG. It's been who's been kind of a massive disappointment in my mind. And people may disagree with that statement, but show me outside Circuits of the America. I mean, I thought he'd be much better than what he's been doing. And Trackhouse has equipment to win. And then I look at 23XI with Riley Herbst. Now, Herbst, I'll give more of a pass because he's a younger driver. And I get it. People are going to be like, well, why don't you give SVG an opportunity? Well, listen, SVG is also, I could, but I expected more. All I heard from people for the last couple of years is that, what SVG was doing was very translatable to NASCAR. Not really. Legacy, though, to me, has not built the foundation for a three-car operation. And even if they get the third car, who are you going to put in it? I think, to me, Herbst was a massive surprise jumping up to 23XI last year to enter the season. Massive surprise. And 23XI to me is light years ahead. It's much more ahead than than Legacy is. I got to read more into this. I mean, if this is true in regards to Legacy changing the date that they want the third charter, then yeah, Rick Ware Racing has every right to back out of the deal. If you agree to the deal that was set and you said 2027 and you backed out and then you go 2026, that doesn't give Rick Ware Racing enough opportunity to figure out a lot of this stuff. We're already week number 7 into the season. I don't necessarily think it's, and I'm siding with Rick Ware Racing on this one. If the statement's true, now I didn't see anything from Legacy. except for the headliner. But Legacy may come out and Jimmy might be like, listen, we had a deal in place. We always said 2026. You guys assumed it was 2027. Then that's on Rick Ware Racing. You can't shake your hands and then back out of a deal because you didn't like what you want or you didn't like it and you got cold feet. Stay tuned on this. This one was really interesting. Like I said, Legacy Motor Club didn't really anticipate or expect them to go into a 3-car operations or looking to expand. But here we are. Here we are. So more to come on that with Rick Ware Racing and Legacy Motor Club. Again, we'll post this article from Jordan Bianchi and Jeff Gluck of the Athletic. We'll post it on our Facebook page. Again, I will forewarn our fans that follow us on Facebook. If you don't have an Athletic membership, you're not going to be able to read it. You're not. So that's why we tried to read as much as we could on air tonight. So, okay. That closes us out with a very unusual start to tonight's episode with our headliners and our news dump. Again, folks, I apologize about that in the middle of our. I apologize about that in the middle of our segment. Again, I got locked out of the studio randomly in mid thought. Not really a big fan of that. So. Thank you for bearing with us. If you're listening to us live on YouTube, thank you for rejoining us, chiming back in. Would love to hear from you if anything or any topic crosses your mind. Blown Engine line or chat line is wide open. Feel free to open up and send us a message on any of the topics discussed tonight. So, okay, Martinsville. Let's talk about what happened in the race weekend down in Martinsville now. Taking the green flag on this segment. As I said to start the show off, 2 videos now, if you were with us from the first one on live. Martinsville is one of the most coolest tracks you'll ever go to. It's in the middle of a town. Honestly, if you're not paying attention, you'll pass right by it. I advise all of our fans to take a road trip down to Ridgeway, Virginia, and see a race down there. It's like I said, it's one of the coolest atmospheres. It's in the coolest location, probably of any track, in my personal opinion, that I've been to so far. The atmosphere is incredible. The tailgating's wild. Every time I go down there, and I've been out, like I said, I've been down there twice, and every time I've gone down there, it's been a remarkable, fun adventure. The first time I went down there was that freaky snowstorm back in 2018 in the spring race, so they got bumped to race Monday. But still, for a Monday race, it was jam-packed. Every time we go to Martinsville, though, it always produces, to me, some of the best racing of the season. Now, necessarily in the Cup Series. Let me rephrase that. In the Cup Series. Do I think Martinsville sometimes has its flaws in the spring race? For sure. But you guys already know my motto. You guys already know what I say all the time. There's a massive difference in racing Martinsville in the spring than there is in racing Martinsville in the fall. In the fall, it's an elimination race in the round of 8. In the spring, it's if you don't have a good day, then go out there, try to get as many points as possible, which we saw from a lot of drivers this past weekend, and we advance to next week. One thing I did not like from Martinsville this past weekend, and it's starting to become a real thorn in my side, and as I said in the first video, thank you, Riverside, I am not a fan of what we have now been seeing from the Xfinity Series every time we go to Martinsville. Every time I feel like it feels like every time at this point. We go to Martinsville, there is always some type of stupidity at the end of the race that ends with a 15 car pileup on the front stretch. We saw it in the fall last year. Two drivers absolutely started a fight on pit road, Cole Custer and Chandler Smith. And we saw it this past season, or this past weekend. And honestly, if you really want to go back even in time, you had Sheldon Creed and Austin Hill almost try to kill each other in 2023 in the fall, where you had Andy Petrie basically screaming at Sheldon Creed, he's a teammate, he's a teammate. I get the urgency to win. I'm all for winning. But what we saw on Saturday down at Martinsville was kind of a total embarrassment, in my personal opinion. Now, I will say this. I think a lot of the media members, I think a lot of people that, we have connections to, a lot of our fans realize that this was not what we want to see in racing. We have no clue, we have no problem with the bumper going to the back of a car. We have no problem with someone moving them out of the way. But we saw it this past weekend with Sammy Smith. You were too far back and you punched Taylor Gray out of the way, which ended up stalling everybody up in the high line. And then you had Austin Hill kind of go underneath on the low line and bulldoze kind of through everybody. Now, I know I'm very critical of Austin Hill, and I would love to blame Austin Hill for what he kind of did on Saturday. But folks, I've watched the replay multiple times, and I get that there's a lot of fans crying about Austin Hill. I watched the replay multiple times, and unfortunately, I don't think Austin Hill did anything wrong. I think we're pointing our blame and misdirection on the Austin Hill. If you watch the replay, granted, okay, he made contact with Allgaier. I get it. He made contact, but with the way that low line was going, he was getting bumped as well. He didn't punt anybody out of the way. He just got underneath and then he got through and he ended up winning the race. But this all stems from Sammy Smith and Taylor Gray. And I did see NASCAR ended up penalizing Sammy Smith for his actions. I think it was $25,000 and a 50-point deduction coming from NASCAR, and that was from NASCAR.com. Again, I have no problem with hard racing. I have no problem with turning somebody. We've seen it over the course of history, right? I mean, what made Dale Sr. so special? Those nights in Bristol, right? Just wanted to rattle his cage. And I get that my fellow media members will sit there and cry and complain and go, well, this is real racing. It's fun, though. But at the same time, when you are multiple car lines behind and you definitely are going full throttle into a corner and to punt the guy out of the way, we saw last year with Austin Dillon, at Richmond. Austin Dillon did not have a shot at Joey Logano unless he went full throttle into the turn and he punted Joey out of the way. It's the same thing with that Sammy Smith did this past weekend in the Xfinity Series. But again, we have seen drivers, bump a car out of the way. I mean, Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin in Martinsville back in 2017. The difference is that Denny was on top of Chase, essentially. And if you watch all the replays, and this is maybe something I'll figure out during the off week coming up in Easter, is trying to get frame for frame shots of every complaint that we have in NASCAR history, because I'm really starting to get annoyed with a lot of our fans. Like I said, this past weekend, I can't blame Austin Hill. I can't blame Austin Hill. And I love blaming Austin Hill. There is nothing more that I love than see that guy get blamed. Because I do think that he causes a lot of nonsense. He doesn't take a lot of accountability on his racing action. But this past weekend wasn't on him. The one thing that's kind of sad too, coming out of the Xfinity series, the one thing that I felt very sad about was Justin Allgaier, who the man never talks. If he talks, he's professional. He doesn't badmouth anybody. He's just there to be a race car driver. He's there to be a driver for Junior Motorsports. Saturday night's, I keep saying Sunday, excuse me. Saturday night's race was so bad that Justin Allgaier, Mr. I don't talk about anything, ended up saying in an interview 20 years ago, this was totally unacceptable, this type of racing. I've been in this sport for 20 years. And it's starting to become unacceptable at the short tracks, especially in the Xfinity series. And I get it. These guys are all young, talented. They're prospects. That's what a lot of them are. You have Allgaier, who's been in the Xfinity series for a while. Austin Hill has. Those are probably going to be your career Xfinity, or Sheldon Creed as well. But you have a lot of young guys. And I think a lot of the questions around the garage was, well, how do you stop this? They were asking Cup drivers, and Brad Keselowski said it best. It's on the, it's not on that. It's not. I think he said it was not on NASCAR. It's on the owners. But how much can the owners how much can the owners control in this situation? And listen, I don't need the sanctioning body to come down here, but you can't race tough because that's what they're on the bill. You don't want to put it in the hands of the sanctioning body. You don't, because you'll see the dumbest mistakes ever made by the. First of all, they can't even tell what a flag is at this point, right? They throw a flag out. Oh, there's over stupid shit. You want them to sit there and tell the drivers and dictate to the drivers what you can and cannot do in a race? That's going to be real entertaining. If I was going to do that, I'd watch Formula One. But again, though, I mean, should it be on the owners? I mean, yes. Because, and maybe that's the route to go, because you got to sit there and be like, listen, like, I'm tired of paying for these wrecked cars. I don't know. I don't know how to fix it. I really don't. It's getting frustrating, too. Again, Sammy Smith has been docked 50 points, and he ended up getting a $25,000 penalty for his incident at Saturday's race against Taylor Gray in Martinsville. So, Saturday's fireworks, and we heard Mike Joy call it in the booth. I think it was a circus. He called it. It was kind of funny. He's like, well, he had the circus yesterday. Sunday's race, though, we had the Cookout 400 at Martinsville. According to NASCAR.com, let's go over the final stat line of this race. Your winner was Denny Hamlin. Second, Christopher Bell ended up finishing second. Bubba Wallace finished third. Hendrick Motorsports teammates Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson finished fourth and fifth. Ross Chastain finished sixth. Ryan Preece finished seventh. Joey Logano finished eighth. Chase Briscoe finished ninth. And Todd Gilliland, who had a real nice rebound on Sunday, he ended up finishing 10th. Your stage one top 10, according to NASCAR.com, stat line. You had Joey Logano win stage one. Alex Bowman won stage two. Bowman finished second in stage one. AJ Allmendinger finished third in stage one. Brad Keselowski finished fourth. John Hunter Nemechek finished fifth. Ryan Preece finished sixth. Chase Elliott finished seventh. Hamlin finished eighth. Cole Custer finished ninth, and Kyle Larson finished 10th. That was your top 10 in stage one. Stage two winner was Denny Hamlin, followed up by Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, Ty Gibbs, Chase Briscoe, Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, and Tyler Reddick. That was your top 10 in stage two. Fastest lap bonus went to Denny Hamlin, who had the fastest lap at lap 195. And your lap leaders on Sunday were one, Denny Hamlin, who ended up leading twice for a total of 274 laps. Christopher Bell led three times in this race for 25 laps. Chase Elliott finished or Chase Elliott ended up leading twice for 42 laps, and Joey Logano led one time for 13 laps. Alex Bowman led one time for 6, and Josh Berry led one time for 40 laps. So that is pretty much your final stat line from Martinsville this past weekend. We're going to kick our topics this week off with the race winner, and that's Denny Hamlin. So if you follow us on Facebook, I'm going to be the bigger man now. It is time for me to apologize to Chris Gale. I have been on this podcast for the offseason, the beginning of this season, continuously saying that I don't think Chris Gale and Denny Hamlin are a good match. I don't think they're a good match. I don't think that Denny's going to win a ton of races. He's not going to be a championship caliber driver because I think Chris Gale is too conservative. Chris Gale is very good at molding young drivers. And actually, what I said in the offseason, and I'll own up to this, I said the best thing that could happen to Ty Gibbs' career is Chris Gale ends up going to Denny Hamlin, and you finally let Ty Gibbs be the aggressive monster that he's supposed to be. Chris, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Sunday's win for Denny obviously was race win number 55 for him. And then we had a lot of fans go, well, 55 wins, no championships. Okay, we get it. He doesn't have championships. Ha ha, ha ha. But this win specifically had me thinking. And this offseason, we saw Chris Gabehart and Denny Hamlin part ways from crew chief and driver. Gabehart ends up going to the office at Joe Gibbs Racing, gets a higher role. As I said before, was not a fan of Chris Gale coming over here. I'm like, he's too conservative. Denny needs someone to push him over the top and be aggressive. Chris Gabehart gave him that, right? Chris Gabehart and Denny Hamlin won 23 races together in 7 years. That's it's a really good stat line. He averaged close to 3 wins a year with Chris Gabehart. Chris Gabehart took Denny Hamlin basically from a very good driver to championship caliber driver each and every single season with each other. Gabehart became the crew chief in 2019, so they won the Daytona 500 in 2019 and 2020 together. Then they were together from 2019, 2020, 2021, 2, 3, 4. So I'm sorry, 6 years. So he averaged 4 wins a season. I'm sorry. Chris Gabehart, to me, now looking back on it, and I'm not going to sit there and say Denny's off to the greatest start of all time. He had first of all, he had a really incredible race on Sunday. Led a race high 274 laps, collected his first grandfather clock in 10 years at Martinsville. Because when you think of Martinsville, you don't think of Denny Hamlin. Even though we heard how great he was on short tracks, you get to Martinsville, he's always, he's never up there for the contention for the win. Well, at least in the last decade. But like I said, this past weekend made me think. I'm like, okay, he wins this race. They bring out the crew. A lot of it's the same crew members from last year. He's got the same engineers from the year before, or from last year, and under Chris Gabehart. The only difference was Chris Gale. Is Chris Gale, and I can't believe I'm saying this after week 7, but is Chris Gale the guy that could help Denny balance him out as a driver? What do I mean by that? Well, it's just like, let's use an NFL terminology. I'm a diehard Eagles fan. Andy Reid was the head coach of the Eagles from 2000 to 2012. The Eagles moved off of Andy Reid. They needed a fresh voice in the locker room. And they got it. They got it with Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly took them to the playoffs in year 1. Maybe this is something that Denny Hamlin needed, was a fresh voice as a crew chief. Like I said, he still has the same engineers, says the same crew that he had for the last couple years. The only difference is the voice of Chris Gale. And after hearing me complain and say he's too conservative and all that type of stuff, you need to be aggressive. Aggressive got Denny to the point he was at. Championship 4 driver could never punch it in, whether it was at Homestead or at Phoenix. What is the one thing that conservative crew chiefs are really good at as well? Helping to manage tires. What is one thing that Denny Hamlin gets credit for behind the wheel of a car? When he has control of the race, he has the opportunity to manage the tires. So, to me, Gale and Hamlin could mirror each other very well on the conservative approach when they get race control. As I said, Denny Hamlin was not off to a great, phenomenal start to start this season off. He honestly, he almost won the Daytona. I say that he wasn't off to a phenomenal start, as I just mentioned. He almost won the Daytona 500, but yeah, he almost won the Daytona 500. Ended up finishing 24th after a wreck on the backstretch on the final lap. Finished 6th at Atlanta, 21st Dakota. He's not a real road racer, so credit. We'll disregard that one. But then he finished 2nd at Phoenix. He almost beat out Christopher Bell on the final restart, and honestly, I almost thought he got it. Then he finished 25th at Vegas. Very, very fluky race for Denny Hamlin because he's pretty good at the 1.5s, but 25th place finish at Las Vegas. I don't know. I can't remember the exact details of what happened with him throughout the day, but it wasn't a good race for him. But then last week at Homestead, he finished 5th. And what was the thing that Denny Hamlin was really good at? And the one thing that Chris Gale did was what? Chris Gale at Homestead helped Denny Hamlin extend the stages and pit halfway. Pit at every half point. That's a very good strategy with a driver that can manage tires. And what happened this past week at Martinsville, took control of the race, able to manage the tires. And that's the other thing too. That was crazy because Hamlin. So Chase Elliott, and we'll talk about Elliott in a second, but Chase Elliott ended up pitting in a caution in stage 2, lost race control to Denny Hamlin. Hamlin stayed out on 87 laps without going down pit road, but because he had race control, was able to manage the tires. Yeah, Chase Elliott got to him, didn't pass him in stage 2. I thought he was going to, but he didn't. And then in stage 3, in the first long green flag run, Hamlin, who had race control, ended up saving his tires. Chase Elliott kept, using up his tires. And eventually, yes, Elliott got to Hamlin's back bumper. I think he got all the way down to, it was way under a tenth of a second. Maybe it was a half a tenth a second, or maybe a quarter of a tenth of a second, I think. But then because Hamlin was, basically managing his tires, he ended up extending the lead to almost 2 point, became like 2.1, then 2.4, 2.5 on the interval between him and Chase Elliott. And then the second green flag long run, what happened? Well, he got out to this massive lead. Christopher Bell came creeping back up, and Christopher Bell burned his tires out, but Hamlin was able to escape by, or continue extending the intervals when the laps counted. Do I think Denny Hamlin is a championship contender this year? I don't think so at the moment, but I could be convinced. I still need a couple more strings of good stretches of races, and there's a lot of them coming up. Listen, Darlington's coming up in Bristol. He's won at Darlington, Bristol, and Talladega. He's very good at restrictor plate. He's very good at Bristol as of late, and he obviously has done a lot of great work at Darlington. Also of note with Darlington, Chris Gale has won a race at Darlington as crew chief with Eric Jones. According to NASCAR.com, Denny Hamlin now with the win at Martinsville. He's got 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 1 win in 7 races, 298 laps led, and an average finish of 12th. He currently sits 6th in the Cup Series points. So to me, final points with Denny Hamlin before we get to Chase Elliott. Great win for the organization. It was kind of a feel-good win, right? Like we heard all offseason, Denny Hamlin was going to have issues. He had issues with the sponsorship. You kind of wanted to see him not go out the way that he, almost looked like he was going to go out in a bad way. Kind of like the end of his career. Progressive comes on board, first win with Progressive. But the one thing, Denny, oh my God, every time every time I want to root for you, you pull out a stupid ass flag. The 11 against the world. Denny, you won 3 races last year. What are you talking about the 11 against the world? And he's like, well, I was hanging out with Ohio State fans, and that's their motto. No, first of all, that motto and that quote came out of a powerlifting gym in Columbus, Ohio called Westside Barbell. Enough. Enough. Every time you want to feel good for him, he does something stupid like that. Speaking of stupid, let's talk about Chase Elliott. And it's going to lead me to my question of the night. If you're listening to us live on YouTube, Blown Engine line wide open. I'm looking forward to talking to all you Chase Elliott fans. Question to the audience tonight. Is Chase Elliott even elite anymore? Is Chase Elliott even elite? You know what my answer is going to be? No. Chase Elliott's not an elite driver. Okay. Now that I ruffled up some feathers by saying that, let's break this down. Okay, he finished 7th in the points last year. But in reality, it comes back down to the lack of wins. He's got 19 career wins, okay? That's a lot of wins in NASCAR. I get it. He's got more than Ricky Rudd, many others. But here's my problem with Chase Elliott. I will give him the pass in 2023, right? Well, first of all, let's break it down since 2020. He wins the championship. I'm going, dear God, this is going to be the decade of Chase. Hendrick Motorsports, young driver, ends up winning the championship. There's zero doubt in my mind he's not going to have multiple championships throughout the 2020s. 2021, Kyle Larson gets brought on board. Larson wins 10 races, wins the championship. Chase Elliott wins 2 races, makes it around championship 4. Cool. We're going to start seeing a Chase Elliott. We're going to start seeing the Chase Elliott Kyle Larson rivalry like we saw with Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. Then in 2022, him and Kyle Larson kind of many scuffles together. California, Watkins Glen, but Chase ended up winning 5 races that year. Let's say 4 because the Pocono win really doesn't count. But ends up winning 5 races, and then remember in 2022 he had that stretch of races starting at Nashville Super Speedway where he won Nashville, finished 2nd at Road America, won Atlanta in the summer, finished 2nd in New Hampshire to Christopher Bell, then won at Pocono. Gets credited for the win at Pocono because Hamlin and Kyle Busch got disqualified. Whatever. Indy Road Course ends up finishing 16th. Michigan ends up finishing 11th. And then this is where it really opens the door. Something happened at Watkins Glen that year in 2022 that turned Chase Elliott completely off on something. I'm not going to say he turned him off on NASCAR, but the switch got flipped. Kyle Larson ended up racing him hard. He ends up, Larson was in the wrong. He ended up pushing Chase Elliott off track. But after that day happened, after that race, he went up to Rick Hendrick and Jeff Gordon, and something happened at that point. Chase Elliott in that playoffs that year, he finished 36th at Darlington, 11th at Kansas, 2nd at Bristol, 32nd at Texas. He ended up winning Talladega, which kind of saved him into the round of 4. Finished 20th at the Roval, 21st at Vegas, 14th at Homestead, finished 10th at Martinsville, and 28th at Phoenix after getting spun out by Ross Chastain. Then 2023, he opens up 38th at Daytona, 2nd at California, breaks his leg, and then the rest is history. Over the last 3 seasons, dating back to Daytona in 2023, Chase Elliott has 1 win. 1. Oh, but Matt, he's got all these top 5s and top 10s. I've never seen an elite, quote-unquote, driver make more mistakes than Chase Elliott when he has race control. Ever. He has race control in multiple events and ends up failing to capitalize. And that's the motto, and that's the story of what he's been. I mean, I could count last year, right? I mean, yeah, his car faded in Martinsville last year. Okay, whatever. He finished second in the fall. But we go to Martinsville this past weekend. He finished fourth. Where he probably, to me, I think he had the best car. He gave up race control. He came down pit road, and then once he lost the lead, he never got it back. And everyone's going to be like, well, Matt, his car ended up tightening up. I'm tired of the excuses. I'm tired of it. There's excuse after excuse after excuse with Chase Elliott. Is he a great driver? Of course. Yes, he is. But to me, he's in Hendrick Motorsports. Over the last 3 seasons, he's got 1 win. I don't care about top 5s and top 10s. This isn't feel-good story time. You're not Daniel Suarez, which nothing against Daniel Suarez, but you're not. There's a lot of drivers that have more wins in that time frame than you do. And you're quote-unquote classified as one of the elite drivers. Your two teammates, and let's call it as is, Bowman, I mean, let's leave Bowman out of it. But your 2 teammates of Byron and Larson are in Hendrick Motorsports equipment, and they capitalize when they have great cars. You don't. And that's my problem with Chase Elliott. There's no capitalization. You don't capitalize. And this is what I want to ask the audience. When was the last Chase Elliott win? When was the last Chase Elliott win that you were like, wow, he was so dominant? That was Chase Elliott. Probably the Roval in 2019. Maybe 2020, and maybe I'll give him Nashville Superspeedway in 2022. That 4th quarter at Nashville in that race, that was elite driving. But that's it, though. And for all the fans that are sitting there complaining now that I said this, I'll give you another example. How about the Coke 600 in 2020? Dominant car. What do? Okay, you don't pit. And it's like, oh, well, damned if you do, damned if you don't. You need track position. You need to capitalize. That's my problem with Chase Elliott. And yeah, is he a good driver? Is he a great driver? Yes. But when I need him to figure out that he needs to capitalize on these race-winning opportunities. And Sunday was one of them. And I don't want to hear anybody go, oh, well, his car faded on him. You know why his car faded on him? Because he didn't have race control. Because he lost the lead. And everyone blames Alan Gustafson and all that type of stuff. But at some point, the driver's got to take accountability and ownership and go, you know what, Alan, I need to go 2 tires on this one. I do think that 4 tires is always the best option, but be Joey Logano. Be one of these drivers be Joey Logano, be Denny Hamlin, be like one of these drivers. Instead of being conservative, go for it. I think that's what makes me frustrated about NASCAR today. Or some of these drivers that get conservative. The sport is built for you to capitalize and win in situations. If you win, you're automatically in the playoffs. Be aggressive. Chase Elliott is close to being on a 36-race losing streak again. That's not talked about. And I'm not counting the Clash. I'm sorry, points paying race, 36 races. Is he an elite driver? No, he's a great driver. There's a difference. His teammates at Hendrick Motorsports have leapfrogged him massively. Well, Larson has definitely massively leapfrogged him. Byron is, I would say, leapfrogged Chase Elliott as the number 2 at Hendrick. He's got to get it together. And I've talked to a couple of Chase Elliott fans and a couple of friends of mine, and I said, listen, I mean, we're coming up into an era where we're coming up into a stretch where it's like, okay, he's got Darlington, Bristol, Talladega, and Texas. Okay, he won Texas last year, not a notorious Texas racetrack. He does not run well there. Talladega, he's got a couple wins. I could see him maybe pulling it off. Bristol, he's good on short tracks, but he always has something go wrong at these stupid races. And you got Darlington coming up. I mean, could we get to could we get to Charlotte where he's still winless? Probably. On the flip side, and on the good news for my Chase Elliott fans, I beat you up enough right now. According to NASCAR.com, he did still finish in the top 5 on Sunday, even though he blew an opportunity to win the race. The problem is you need him to start winning races and start capitalizing on race winning speed. He does not do that. He did finish 4th though at Martinsville. He led 42 laps. That was a big critique going into the race. He's only led 2 laps all season. Well, he led 42. He's currently now 3rd in the points. He's got 4 top 10s, 2 top 5s, average finish of 11.5. So he's got a higher average finish than Denny Hamlin. All right, let's rapid fire. I'm going to loop these two together on my next topic. Drivers that have absolutely impressed me so far this season: Ryan Preece and Bubba Wallace. I don't think that these two guys get enough love and enough credit. Right now, Ryan Preece is sitting 14th in the points. This is another one I owe an apology to. In the regulars, in the off season, I said, what does Ryan Preece do to continue earning top rides? Well, he's got a top ride with RFK, and he's completely capitalized. Through 7 races, he's got 1 top 5, 3 top 10s. He does have a DNF at Daytona. His average finish is 16.7, but he's 14th in the points. Ryan Preece right now has 3 straight top 10s. He had a 3rd at Vegas, a 9th at Homestead, and a 7th at Martinsville. I'm really liking what I see out of the 60 car this year. And in Phoenix, he ran very well on that option tire. Now, granted, he pulled the option tire out too quickly. Kind of killed his day. At the Circus of America, he did win a stage. I really like what I'm seeing out of Ryan Preece. And Preece's attitude of being aggressive is going to pay off. It really is. He's got good equipment. He's got a fast car, and they're aggressive. As I said, what is there not to love about Ryan Preece to start the season off? I got my eyes on him right now. I'm interested to see what he does at Darlington, Bristol, Talladega, super speedways, especially in RFK equipment. Kind of like my shot with the 60 car. I think Preece comes up with a win over the next couple months. And then finally, the other driver I want to give mad shout out to is Bubba Wallace. Bubba ended up collecting his 2nd straight top 5 on Sunday at Martinsville. Finished 3rd at Martinsville, had really good speed throughout the whole day. Finished 3rd at Homestead the week before. Definitely thought he was going to end up winning that race at Homestead last week. But Bowman got around him, then finally Larson got around him. Had issues at Daytona. COTA, he's not a good road racer. Phoenix had issues as well. Finished 9th at Atlanta, but Bubba Wallace right now currently sits 8th in the points. Average finish 17.2. Feels like it's much higher than what it's supposed to be. 2 top 5s and 3 top 10s. Does have a stage win. Does have a stage win at COTA. So I'm interested to see what the trend is. The thing about the difference between the one thing I like about Bubba Wallace, is that he has led 98 laps to start this season off. We're 7 races in. He's got 98 laps led. So his car's in the front. I mean, this is not just regular pit stops and, off script strategy, and we're going to go from there. He's actually got a car that's up in the front of the pack. And we saw this past weekend in Martinsville. And we saw it again the weekend before at Homestead. So Bubba Wallace, Ryan Preece, drivers to keep eyes on as we enter week number 8 in the NASCAR Cup Series season. Bubba might be a sneaky pick this week coming up at Darlington, by the way. All right. One driver I have massive, massive, massive concerns on as we enter week number 8 down in Darlington, and that's Brad Keselowski, man. Where has the driver of the 6 car been? Is he preoccupied being an owner? What is going on with Brad Keselowski? Brad Keselowski right now has 2 finishes above 15th, 11th at Vegas and 15th at Coda. When they left the Circuits of the America, Brad was very optimistic on, well, if we don't finish good at Daytona and Atlanta, Coda's not really our track, but we got some great tracks coming up for our RFK stable. We got Phoenix, Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville. Well, wasn't really a good stretch there, Brad. 33rd at Phoenix, 11th at Vegas, 26th at Homestead, and 26th at Martinsville. At one point, Brad Keselowski was a Martinsville ace. 26th place finish. Now, I told you guys last week on the episode, since he's joined RFK Racing, he's not been good at Martinsville, so you need to fade him. Did not expect a 26th place finish, especially with Priest's car Priest finishing in the top 10 and with the speed of RFK Racing. Now, I mean, Buescher had a bad day as well, but Brad right now, folks, according to NASCAR.com, has an average finish of 25.1 through 7 races, 0 top 5s, 0 top 10s, 2 DNFs, and he sits 30th in the points. He sits 30th in the points. Now, granted, we go back to a track that he won at last year at Darlington, so anything's possible. He is good at Bristol. He ended up finishing 3rd there last year in the Food City 500. Talladega, he's a super speedway ace. He almost won that race last year at Talladega. So there's some Brad tracks that are coming up that I got my eyes and kind of circled, but I'm very disappointed with the start of the season from Brad, especially with the speed that I've seen out of RFK Racing, primarily with Priest, which I never thought I would say that going into the season. Priest has been better than Buescher or Keselowski at that point, but the driver of the 6 and the owner of RFK Racing needs to get this shit figured out, because sitting 30th in the points, you don't win championships in the first 6-7 weeks of the season, but you sure as hell can lose out on a playoff opportunity. And right now, Brad is running out of opportunities to continue bad finishes. He's got to get that car in victory lane very soon. Okay. So that brings us up to the end of our Martinsville discussion. Let's go over to final driver point standings as we exit Martinsville and as we head into Darlington. So nothing changes at the top with 1 and 2. William Byron currently is your points leader. Kyle Larson's currently in 2nd. Chase Elliott right now sits 3rd in the points. So 3 straight Hendrick drivers, 1, 2, and 3. Christopher Bell is sitting 4th in the points. Sitting in 5th is Alex Bowman. Denny Hamlin is 6th. Tyler Reddick is 7th. Bubba Wallace is 8th. Joey Logano is 9th in the points, and Ryan Blaney is 10th. 11th is Chris Buescher. 12th is Chase Briscoe. 13th is Ross Chastain, who I feel like we really haven't talked much about this year to start the season off, but I feel like we got some Ross discussions coming up in the near future. 14th, as we discussed, was Ryan Priest. 15th, Michael McDowell. Let's give him a shout out real quick. Let's get into a nice clap for Michael McDowell. Give me a second. My question going into the season, right? Zane Smith drove the 71 last year for Spire Motorsports. That car sat into the 30s in points majority of the season. Actually, that's where it finished. Michael McDowell came over to Spire Motorsports. Now, granted, his crew chief followed him over from front row. But my question going into the season was, is the 71 that bad, or is Zane Smith that bad, or is the 71 that bad? And right now, I got to say this. Now, granted, different crew chiefs and circumstances, but Michael McDowell right now has the 71 of Spire Motorsports sitting 15th in the points. He's a driver to me that he's got 0 top 5, 0 top 10s. It's the most McDowell stat line ever. 0 DNFs, though. And an average finish of, Michael McDowell has an average finish of 15.7. To me, he's just hitting singles in every single race, right? He finishes 12th, he finishes 16th, he's just doing what Michael McDowell needs to do. So I gotta give credit to credit where credit's due, man. That is impressive because that 71 car was sitting below 30th in the points all last year. And rounding out the top 16 in points, Kyle Busch currently sits 16th. So the two drivers on the bubble, and again, this doesn't count wins. Barry right now, this is without the wins. This is the points. But if we added the wins in there, Barry would be in the playoffs. Kyle Busch would be the first one out. So, speaking of Zane Smith, he currently sits 23rd in the points. He's had some speed. I'm just waiting for that. I'm just waiting for front row, that organization. Todd Gilliland had a great finish the other day. He was nowhere to be found the whole race. He finished 10th at Martinsville. But I'm just waiting, like I said, I'm just waiting for that organization, front row, to have that one race where it's like, oh wow, okay, that's the front row we're looking for. Like I said, Zane Smith's 23rd in the points, Todd Gilliland's 22nd, and Noah Gragson, who I was much more higher on entering this season, right now currently sits 32nd in the points with front row. Not good. Um, final final point from the point standings. In case you've seen this, it's really embarrassing. Cody Ware sits 37th in the points. Okay, that's usually where Cody Ware sits. What's the problem? Currently, Cody Ware is behind Jimmie Johnson in the point standings. Jimmie Johnson sits 36th in the points ahead of Cody Ware, as Jimmie Johnson ran one race so far in the 2025 season. One, and that was the Daytona 500. Cody Ware sits 37th and has ran all 7 races to start the season. I mean, how does that even happen? And you wonder why Rick Ware Racing is trying to sell that charter, or Legacy's trying to buy the charter. So um, I'm hoping that Cody eventually, you hope to God he jumps Jimmie Johnson in the points. He's getting close, but currently sits behind Jimmie Johnson, who ran one race in the point standings. I'm going to be honest with you. It doesn't matter. If it takes 8 races to get above Jimmie Johnson, that's an embarrassment to Cody Ware. It's a complete embarrassment. Okay, so that brings us out to our green and white checkers tonight on our Martinsville race discussion. Let's discuss real quick Darlington picks this week, and that should be the end of tonight's episode. Again, so sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm hoping that the rest of the show flowed really good for our live audience tonight, and for you listening to whatever subscriber that you're on, whether it's Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music. So, Goodyear 400 throwback weekend. And I'm going to be honest, there's some really good throwback schemes this year. Really good throwback schemes in the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series. Now, 2 bones to pick, and I apologize, I'm an aesthetics guy. One, not every driver in the Cup Series or Xfinity Series is running a throwback scheme. I find that massively disappointing. I find that really disappointing and really heartbreaking. I feel, and I know, and I get it. Drivers don't run throwback schemes every single year. I get it. But I feel like the whole field needs to do a throwback scheme. They can't just let people run regular schemes or throwbacks. Do something creative. You either go all in or all out, right? You're advertising Darlington as the official throwback weekend, but then I'm going to watch Chase Briscoe run around the same paint scheme I've seen him even at Daytona. And it's not just Briscoe, but like I saw Ross Chastain doesn't have one. Austin Dillon doesn't have one. Kyle Busch doesn't have one. Actually, none of the Trackhouse guys have one. I don't even think the RFK guys have a throwback. No, I don't. I wish that they would make it mandatory that every driver racing in this race do a throwback scheme. Secondly, I posted this on our Facebook page, the Brooklyn Woodbury Podcast. A lot incredible schemes. Honestly, I think the Xfinity Series beat the Cup Series this year in paint schemes. Well, let me rephrase that, because Kyle Larson's number 5 is. We're going to be talking about that next week. That car, the last 2 years with Larson and Terry Labonte schemes, remarkable. absolutely remarkable. But the Xfinity Series, if you look at some of the Xfinity Series paint schemes, I mean, I think Kyle Sieg is running back a Ricky Rudd Haviland paint scheme. That car looks awesome. You have the visual pack Cody or the visual pack Kodak camera paint scheme on the 4 car in the Xfinity Series. There's multiple. Let's just say there was some awesome paint schemes. I really like Harrison Burton, and even though I don't like the driver Matty D, they did Jeff Burton throwback scheme, so it was really good. It was they were really clean. They were awesome. So, like I said, I just wish NASCAR would make it mandatory that every driver has to do a throwback scheme. So, okay, let me get off my soapbox. Let's give you some picks this week for the Goodyear 400. So, let's go with pick number one this week, or four. Let's go with the 4 drivers I like the most. Let's start off with driver number one, William Byron. William Byron has been so good at this track over the last couple of years, ever since the next gen car. And Joey Logano punted him out of the way in 2022, which was really stupid. But William Byron, I like him a lot this week. According to driveraverages.com, he leads the field with average finish at Darlington since February 2022, 10.3 in 6 races. He's got 1 win, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, and 4.3 laps led. Give me William Byron as one of the drivers I like this week for driver number one. Driver number two, I always got to go with this old soul. And with the way they pulled out this stupid flag, we have to go with him. Denny Hamlin. Uh, Driver number two I'm picking this week at Darlington. He's got an 11.8 average finish according to driveraverages.com with 6 races, or in 6 races in the next gen car. He hasn't won a race at the next gen car, but he won the last race at Darlington, the previous generation, beating out Kyle Larson at a miraculous Southern 500. He's got 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, but here's the fun kicker. He has led 12.9% of the laps at Darlington in the next gen car. So I like Denny Hamlin a lot. I think he knows how to run this track really well. It's a very demanding track. He knows how to ride the walls, both sides of the track. Give me Denny Hamlin as driver number two. Driver number three this week. I like drivers who lead a lot of laps and and puts the car out in front a lot. Give me Tyler Reddick for driver number three. Average finish in the next gen car is 11.8 according to driveraverages.com. 6 races have been ran with him, 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s. But here's the thing, he's led the most laps. He's got the highest percentage of laps led at this track in the next gen car, with 13.9% of the laps led in those 6 races. So, like I said, load me up with drivers who put these cars in the front and lead a lot of laps. I like Reddick a lot this week with driver number three. Driver number four. This is going to be a driver, or this is a tough one because there's a lot of them that are really good here, right? We have, for me, it's going to be tough because someone's gonna be like, oh really? But driver number four this week I'm going to pick is Ross Chastain. Like I said, Ross Chastain is one of those drivers. He's been quiet to start the season. He's just collecting his top tens and moving on. And he pissed Joey Logano off, so I got to pick him this week. Chastain in the next gen car has a 16.7 average finish at this track with 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s. But another thing too is I'm picking drivers who lead laps at this track, and not just one lap because of pit strategy, not because of X, Y, and Z. I want drivers that eat down laps led. Ross has done that. Ross actually right now, according to driveraverages.com, is the ranked number 4 in laps led, percentages of laps led at Darlington in the next gen car with a 6.2%. Yes, 16.7 average finish is a little scary, but remember, I thought that he was going to win the race in 2023. Ends up collecting with Kyle Larson. That led to the whole discussion with Rick Hendrick. But I like drivers who lead laps here a lot. So give me Ross Chastain as driver number 4 as my 4 drivers to be high, my heavy favorites. Again, there's Byron, Hamlin, Reddick, Chastain. Drivers trending in the right direction. This week, I really, really like I really like Joey Logano this week. Again, another driver who leads a lot of laps at Darlington. In the next gen car, 8.6% of the laps led at Darlington have come from Joey Logano. That's the he is ranked number 3, according to driveraverages.com with laps led. Joey Logano, trending in the right direction. Driver number 2, who I like that's trending in the right direction. Give me Chase Briscoe. This 19 car has been really good with Martin Truex Jr. over the years. Briscoe won the last race at Darlington with Stewart-Haas Racing in pretty much a dead-end team. Yeah, the percentages of laps led aren't there, but he's got a 14.2 average finish according to driveraverages.com. He's got the win at the Southern 500 last year with 2 top 5s and 2 top 10s. I like Chase Briscoe a lot this week. Logano, Briscoe, drivers trending up. Drivers trending backwards this week. I hate to do it. Eric Jones. For once he won the Southern 500 in 2022, I was really excited about it. This is a driver that has 1 win in the next gen car at Darlington, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s, but has only led 1.2% of the laps in that stretch. I don't like Eric Jones this week, and if you're a betting man, I would go with Eric Jones. And finally, the other driver I am going to fade a lot is Chase Elliott. 12.2 average finish at this track in the next gen car. Pretty good. 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, has led 0 laps in 6 races. Led 0 laps in 6 races at this track. So I'm fading Chase Elliott, fading Eric Jones. And I got 2 dark horses I like this week. I'm going to go Ty Gibbs as one of the dark horses, 14.8 average finish in the next gen car. He's only raced here 5 times in the next gen with 1 top 5, 1 top 10, but has led 2.1% of the laps in those 5 races. And the other one too I like a lot is a dark horse, Justin Haley. When you think of Darlington, for some odd reason, he's really good here. According to driveraverages.com, 15 average finish with 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s. So, dark horses, Gibbs, Haley, drivers I'm fading, Elliott, Jones, drivers that I'm high on or trending upwards, Briscoe, Logano, and then Byron, Reddick, Hamlin, and Chastain are my 4 horses. Kyle Larson, I took that off the board because we know how good he's going to be. And God forbid if he wins in that car, that might be the number 1 selling diecast in this country. So, all right, that's going to bring us out to the checker flag tonight on tonight's episode. Once again, appreciate everyone's support, love. Again, I am so sorry about the technical difficulty halfway through the show. Very frustrating because I really do take a lot of pride in this podcast and providing excellent information for all of you to listen to. It was very embarrassing. I will say that. Very embarrassing. I'm going to do a lot of edits, hopefully, over the next day so I can get everything condensed so it sounds at least somewhat normal. If you missed our live episode stream, again, we'll have everything posted up on our subscriptions to Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So once again, thanks again for everyone checking in. We're at Throwback Weekend. If you're going down to the race this weekend, enjoy yourself down at Darlington. It's a beautiful track, fun times, great atmosphere. If you're not, enjoy your wonderful race weekend from Darlington or from your couch or wherever you're watching. With all that being said, we will chat next Wednesday night here on YouTube. And with all that being said, have a wonderful week. Have a great race weekend. Be safe, be well, and we'll chat next week. Good night.
This is fun. We're having fun.